And welcome to another Dose of SirToshi's podcast. I have with me today Ross Thurston, as most people would probably have seen on Twitter, who's been sharing my videos and just starting his BSV journey. So I'm quite looking forward to this chat and introducing him to the Bitcoin BSV community. So without further ado, let's just crack on. Experience the best of both worlds today at betbitcoinsv.com, the best casino and sports betting on chain. Have a little flutter in private using the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin. Right, cue the music, let's get into it.
SirToshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the terror node, you'll surely see.
There we go. Right, I've got Ross Thurston on the line. Are you there?
Yes, I am. How you doing?
All right, mate. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure chatting with you because obviously I first came across your video on YouTube and I was like, oh, what's this? What's going on? And then I saw you had literally made a playlist of all of my videos that I spent ages doing. So I really appreciate you telling everybody that you've been through them and they actually helped your understanding. And then I was just like, right, here is a guy that's just getting into it. I wonder what he knows, what's his thoughts and everything like that. Because I presume you're a relative newbie to the space, are you?
Yeah, I first came across you. It was on the Dark Matters network.
Oh, yeah,
and to
okay.
quote Callie Spell, crypto newbie and Bitcoin newbie. Absolutely, yeah.
Great. So, did you get in because you're sort of in the truther movement, as it were?
Yeah. I don't want to name it on here. I'll send you a direct message after because I just don't want to compromise the business relationship. But I was involved with like another crypto sort of project, and it wasn't a bad project, but I just didn't know enough about it at the time. It was only when I just came across your videos through the Dark Matters network, and then started learning about Bitcoin BSV.
Wow.
Because I'd seen it on exchanges before, but I was like, what the hell is BTC and the difference between BSV? Like, what the hell is going on? So I'd never really looked into it until I came across your videos.
Oh, and was it, what was it about sort of like Callie's podcast that sparked your interest?
I first got involved, well, like most people sort of started waking up about 2019 with all other stuff going on. It was mainly the law, the whole law side. I just got involved with that with some other people I knew, and then went down that rabbit hole, and just one thing leads to another, and then by the time you know it, you're looking into the financial system, and then it inevitably brings you on to what's blockchain and what's crypto and why are they attacking it so much. So that just makes me more intrigued.
Yeah, well, Bitcoin has been around since 2009. I mean, had you come across it previously?
No.
Really?
I mean, I've heard of it, but not even looked into it. Wasn't even interested in it.
And not even any friends or family or anyone like that had spoken about it?
No, absolutely not. No.
Right. See, that's interesting because I'd love to kind of like gauge the sort of general sentiments, because I think asking around, I would love to know a ratio like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 or something like that as to the number of people that kind of know about it or have heard of it or have a couple of coins in their wallet, even if they're just shit coins or whatever, because when I actually started speaking to people about it, obviously because I got into this in a big way, there's all these people start coming out from the woodwork and go, well, I bought a couple of Polkadot or a couple of Ethereum, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I just put like 40 quid here and there and blah blah blah, because like nobody knows what they're doing, and I guess everybody views it as scambling, as Captain Bitcoin used to call it, and they don't really know who to ask or what to ask because they don't know anybody else who's in it. And then you kind of like speak to them and they're just like, oh, you know about this, what is this? And then they've got all these questions about it. But I guess kind of like when you're ingrained in it like I am, I'm sort of like immersed heavily on one side. So I would love to know again kind of like what it's actually like out there, as it were, kind of like mainstream. You know, so did you have you got did you speak to anybody before kind of like delving into my videos, or were you just like, oh, this kind of like this sounds interesting because Callie's talking about it?
Yeah, I'd spoke to a few people, probably about just crypto in general, but was not even aware of what BSV was until I came across your videos. Had no clue whatsoever. I
Oh
just
wow.
thought Bitcoin was BTC, like most people do.
Mm.
Um, but to answer your question before about, obviously we've got the internet now, so probably from the internet, probably like one in like people I actually sort of know, probably like 1 in 50, maybe 100 people have any
Okay.
sort of deal with crypto. But in person, like hardly anyone I know. No family members, no sort of friends or anything.
Mm.
They sort of just scoff at it and just believe the stuff they hear about in the news. You know, oh, it's what criminals use, and the same old stuff. You know.
Yeah, yeah, rhetoric. And what about as do you have any sort of family members or friends or contacts that are starting to suspect that, you know, all this crime and corruption, you know, all legal and political influence stem from economic power? If you fix the money, you fix everything. Yeah, are they still sort of like just looking at what's going on and go, oh, you know, there's problems, but we're not too sure how to solve it.
I'd say I've probably got two family members who sort of know what's going on,
All right,
but
more than
I don't think
that's
they've
two more
fully.
than me.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear that. I know it's hard, but I know that they've probably not fully connected the whole Bitcoin and sort of the blockchain dots. You know, everyone's complaining about what's going on with the money. And to be honest, I've got to hold my hand up until I come across your videos. I don't really understand economics full stop. So that really helped when you explained it. And then, honestly, it was like, to be cliche, it was like the light bulb that's clicked for me. I sort of got the big picture of why Bitcoin. Everyone's saying, well, why Bitcoin? Why not everything else? It clicked for me why. Because you'd explained the economics, you'd really gone into detail about that, and that was key. And I hope that helps a lot of people as much as it helped me.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, was there any particular sort of tagline or something I said that enabled you? Because what I'm looking for is I'm trying to find a way to explain it, obviously, as clearly and as simply as possible. And there are so many ways of doing it. It's finding that one, that resonates with people the most in the clearest, most succinct kind of way.
Yeah. So I'd say, like triangles and like the rule of three. You've got three things. So I'll say these three
Yes.
things for me. So I'll say number one, when you explained about the economics, the goods, services, the commodities, and the securities, the difference between money and currency. That was like one pillar, which was like, okay, I get this. This is
Brilliant.
like a dot which I'm beginning to connect. Number two was when you explained the bigger use case of Bitcoin, which was beyond, the myth of what we've been told about, oh, it's just digital gold, blah, 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 blah. With the, actually digital data and how it can be commoditized. That was the second thing which
Brilliant.
connected. And then number three was the blatant attack. And when you talked about the Bitcoin white paper, which I'd never actually even read or got into, just showing the continuity on the chain, and that, let's say, all points lead to Rome. I don't want to put Rome on it, but it's like all points led back to this one point, and it was obvious that, well, BSV is the only one which fits the original objective.
Yeah.
That's all I can say really without
And
scratching it.
what about the legacy addresses? Have you seen a video where I explain that one?
Yeah, my understanding is still quite weak of it, but from what I understand, that all the addresses lead back to those original ones, which obviously can be traced with the digital signatures, but because what they did to BTC or BCH, I think it's not possible to trace those back. Is that correct? Or
Yeah. So well, it's like any contract that is valid. It's the signature that gives it authority. Yeah, and if you're sending a transaction that doesn't have a signature on it, then you can't tell who's sent it or who's received it, and therefore you have no claim on it. And if you have no claim on it, then it's worthless. But the most important thing, and this is what most people don't get, and what I've figured out was kind of like a key part of explaining it. When Craig created Bitcoin, he had to choose a template for the Bitcoin legacy addresses. And so he chose to start all of the Bitcoin legacy addresses with the number 1. And that was part of the template. So if you change any of the fundamental principles of Bitcoin, that results in a realized and visual change in the legacy address. So the BTC SegWit protocol now have their wallet addresses beginning with either the number 3 or the letters BC, and Bitcoin Cash have the letters either P or Q. And so it's only BSV that still uses the legacy addresses that start with the number 1, which proves it's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And again, it's a stroke of genius because the number 1 is obviously the first in the original, and now anybody who creates a cryptocurrency can no longer start their addresses beginning with the number 1 because that belongs to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I do love a tactical stroke of genius. That's good.
Oh yeah, it's
sort of
awesome.
set the stage for it, set the play.
Oh yeah, so I mean, you sound as though you're kind of like enjoying getting into this, which is great.
Well, I don't want. There's enough drama in the world. We'll say that, but it's just amazing. The more you dive in, and you like they say, the plot thickens, and it just gets more and more and more obvious. The more into it you go.
And sort of where would you say, sort of how far you are at the moment? Are you sort of like familiar with the likes of Calvin Ayre and Stephen Matthews and the SirToshi affair and Gavin Andresen and Bitcoin Bell and like the Nevada 2015 Bitcoin conference? Have you sort of like gone through any of those?
I've not got through any of those. No, I've watched. That's why I made the playlist, because I'd watched all those videos, and it's just for my for other people. That's why I made it public, but for my education as well, just so I can go back to them and watch them over again until things click if I don't understand. Like you talk about, like, SHA-256. I'm still just figuring out what the hell that even means. I'm watching that over and over again because I really want to actually understand it. I've always been someone who, like a truth. I like to understand things. I like to figure out the universe and just anything. So anything that I research, I like to really go in depth and actually understand how it works. Because that's the only way you can actually come to a sensible conclusion about anything in life and trust yourself other than the other voices and noises about, because there's a lot of deception about. So if you know something yourself, then you can always stay, on the right track.
Yeah, well, I've just sent you a link on Signal of where I've described SHA-256 on one side of A4. So I challenged myself to try and describe what it was. In
awesome.
Just a few paragraphs. I think I've done pretty well. It's a Medium article that I've written, and then also I've got, which you might find interesting here, is a history of Bitcoin, particularly the one of Craig Wright, because I've got here. In fact, I'll send you the link as well. It's got Craig Wright with his credentials since 2005. So he's been GIAC certified since September 2005, and that's with all his professional qualifications listed, which kind of like, would give him credibility and would prove that he's got the ability to actually create Bitcoin. Then obviously the Bitcoin white paper was released on the 31st of October 2008. So who besides Satoshi Nakamoto would be talking about Bitcoin prior to that date? Well, obviously, only the only person who would be talking about Bitcoin prior to 2008 would be the person who created Bitcoin.
Right.
And so we've got Craig here in 2007, publishing a white paper, again using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, titled "An in-depth analysis of proof-of-work calculations in the Hashcoin white paper, exploring alternative strategies." And in the white paper, technology now called blockchain is first described as time chain. So you've got a paper here that was released a year before the Bitcoin white paper that describes blockchain, and he published it. There's another one as well in 2007 where he published a white paper for Northumbria University titled "Payment Providers and Intermediaries as defined in the law of the Internet." And the paper demonstrates comprehensive knowledge regarding the law surrounding electronic payments. And there's another one where he's literally released like the white paper, and oh mate, there's loads. So it's just like it can't really be anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, the evidence that I've seen from you so far, I mean, I was just shocked, I think there was another court ruling where they tried to disprove it was him, and I know the courts are, were sort of corrupt, but I just, when you look at the evidence, I mean, it's pretty obvious that unless another candidate suddenly, appears out of, the closets of Narnia and comes up with, 7 million documents and
a lifetime of experience, it all points to him as the most credible, guy,
Yeah, I presume you weren't in Bitcoin at the time of the Copa case or anything, were you?
No.
So that was another fascinating one, because with Copa were basically wanting the judge to rule that Craig wasn't Satoshi Nakamoto, but in order to do that, you're meant to put forward the case for the point that it could be someone else, and they didn't offer anyone. Literally, they were just like, it's not him, and we don't have any other candidates. It's like, what?
They just do not understand.
It's like one of the maxims of law, isn't it? He who makes a claim has to bear the burden of proof.
Yeah.
So, if you make a claim, it's up to you to prove it, which, Craig has done. But if they're going to make a claim that, X isn't true and that someone else has, and yet they can provide no evidence, I mean, it's just an absolute joke.
Yeah, well, I presume, because you're just getting into this space, are you aware of the what's the word? The social circumstances of which you're probably about to get yourself involved in?
Yes, like I said, I don't want to name names or companies, but this is someone that obviously he's a CEO of a crypto company, and I still respect him and respect the company. But I know that the IT team that he's got is very, very good and very knowledgeable. And I asked him, and what his thoughts were, and I wanted to get the other people's thoughts were because I'd just come across BSV, so I thought, well, obviously they know about it. And the first thing they said was, avoid it. It's a cult. Whenever someone says that, and it wasn't like I'd asked and I hadn't seen any of these videos or looked into myself. I already had an inkling, but I just wanted to see, well, I'm new to crypto. Is there anything I'm missing? So when someone says that, and unless I'm missing something, I just find it very bizarre that you can come to that conclusion. I could not. I think they must be confusing either certain people within the community and then labeling the technology, which some people are supported as, bad, and therefore, just label the technology as bad based off the actions of a small minority. But saying that it's a whole cult, but that made me very skeptical, I'll be honest. Not of BSV, but of his opinion. And I was like, well, I don't think this is true at all. Like, there's got to be something else to it here.
Yeah, absolutely. Always do your own research. But
100%.
what I would say is, because you're obviously aware of how corrupt things are at the moment, and it all stems from the financial system. With the money being corrupt, and I'd seen that you picked up on the case law of SEC versus W.J. Howico in 1946. which defines what security is, and then hence you can also work out what securities fraud is. But you have to remember, I mean, this is the biggest fraud in history. The fiat currency scam that they're hoodwinking us with, and because that gives them an unlimited amount of economic power, there's nothing that they can't afford. And so what they've done is they've actually set up what they call cyber hornets. So if you come out, kind of like waving your flag and promoting particularly something like BSV, they will come after you thick and fast. Which is one of the reasons why I use a pseudonym, and I've got this character, because this character, if they start attacking it, well, people are just like, well, it's just a character. So, what are you bringing attention to this character for? So they can't really attack the character because all that's going to do is bring attention to it. And they can't really attack me personally because no one knows who I am because I don't put my face out there. So if they did start putting my face out there, they'd be like, who's this guy? What's all the fuss about? So if you develop a character, it takes longer to build a reputation, but I would strongly consider creating one. And I mean, obviously, people who know you will know who it's you, but it's probably, if you're first getting into it, in order to avoid what's probably going to come down the road, and also, I mean, let's say if Craig does win his appeal and Terranode comes on the network and the block fee, goes literally to the moon and the miners come flooding over, and this thing that's currently $40 goes to like 10 grand in a week. If people know that you got into it when it's $40, that's probably not a good thing because they're just like, right, well, he's probably got more than one. Because it's like 30 quid. You'd be crazy not to if you know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So and I've also had other people kind of like reach out to me, and they were just like, look, I got into this particular coin when it was like a pound, and it's now multiple thousands of pounds, and I was trying to help people because obviously I made millions, and they've said it was literally the worst decision in their lives to actually come out and tell people what they'd done and try and help them, because people, there was jealousy, there was people being pedantic, there was just people took his wanting to help for sort of like being patronizing, and he was just like he just said I should never have done it, so I was just like, right, that sort of seems quite sensible, really. Just kind of protect your identity online sort of thing.
No, it's probably wise. All I can say at this point is I've probably already made so many videos about myself now that, and I know what you mean. I've done it in other, because I've been into truth and law. Like, I've been exposing a lot of stuff for probably over a year now. So I've had all sorts of things similar to that. People coming after me and trying to stop me, and obviously there's the censorship.
Really?
Instagram's been trying to destroy my account for over a year. So I've been battling them with that. So. I know what I'm up against, but I'm not really, I'm sort of spiritual, so I don't really try and entertain too much fear, although it is wise to be, obviously, smart and look after yourself.
Because if you start getting too big, they'll go for your bank account. They'll shut it down.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what they did to Nigel Farage. I mean, jeepers, and that's a UK politician. I mean, the audacity, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'd say the only good thing to come out of stuff like this is the more that they do these things, the more they expose themselves. So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
the dark cannot cope with the light. That's all I can say. So,
very good. Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's just they always say plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like I can imagine things could potentially get really nasty. So I was just like, right, well, you know, I'm gonna stick my foot in, but I'm not gonna put my head above the parapet, kind of thing. It's more knowledge and education, as they say, like knowledge is power, you know. So I thought, right, well, if I am gonna get this knowledge out there, then I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it using my physical presence.
Yeah.
You know, as it were. So it's just something to bear in mind, in terms of potentially anticipating the future, because they always say there's only two ways to face the future. One is with apprehension, the other one is with anticipation. So you may as well anticipate it, because that's just like the only positive steps you can take into the future.
Yeah, true, absolutely.
So yeah, that's just something to think about. But yeah, in terms of your truther movement, when did you start waking up?
Waking up was 2019 probably. I was traveling New Zealand at the time, and then sort of COVID happened, and I was just looking around and I was thinking everybody's absolutely bizarre. You know, just calm down, chill out. World's going a bit insane.
Yeah.
I remember walking around, the supermarket, and this big Maori guy was like, "Oh, gee, you can't walk across the arrow. It's only one way." And I was like, well, I just want some food. Just leave me alone. But I just started looking into stuff after that, really. And then I came back, and Jacinda Ardern over there was an absolute
tyrant.
Yeah, I would have said a worse word, but I'll keep it polite for now. But yeah, so I just started looking into, and like I said, one thing leads to another. Everything's sort of interconnected in a way.
Yeah, rabbit hole. Jeepers.
Massive, yeah. And once you just get to the financial system, like you say, money for the most people is what controls people and is most important to people's lives. So you can see why they want to control it, as you said in your videos. And then you get to, the amazing power of, Bitcoin and what it can do for the world, and why there's such a push to, destroy and keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting when you look into it,
Yeah, and are you, I guess you might be, are you sort of like a bit too young to have any memories of 9/11?
I can't remember. Obviously, I've looked into it. I can't really remember it in person.
Yeah. I mean, I keep forgetting it. Yeah, that was what, like 23 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I kind of like still remember it like it was yesterday, because I just literally couldn't believe what I was seeing on the TV. You're just like, what? Yeah, one minute there's kind of like fire, and smoke coming out the window, and it's like, all right, well, I don't know, the firefighters are going to have a bit of trouble getting up there. And the next minute, they're falling down. You're just like, what the hell am I watching here? Because you didn't know it. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. You're just like, what the hell? And then obviously the worst one, Building 7, it just came straight down without anything hitting it. But I wasn't any the wiser as to why that would have happened, or what went on, or who would want to do that, or how they could have done it. You just accept the narrative. You're just like, oh, all right, well, they seem to know what they're talking about. And now it's just like, whoa, this is part of such a line of events, like, because 9/11 allowed them to bring in the surveillance state, obviously ready for this one world government. And then also covered up the Commodities Futures Modernization Act that was deregulated the year before, which obviously when you deregulate something, you're unregulating it, which allows financial bubbles to be created, which resulted in the 2008 financial crisis, which is where they were stealing people's homes off them. It's just like, whoa, this is massive. And then it goes back to the Kennedy assassination, and I mean, crikey, yeah. I mean, did you see the show where I my 365 Days of Bitcoin History, where April 15th, when the quotes here, Titanic went down, and it was actually the Olympic.
I haven't seen your 365 Days, but I did see your Silverfish documentary, which was really great.
Oh, excellent! How long did it take to watch that?
Oh, I did it all. Probably, I did it in like, I did it in a day.
Oh,
I had nothing better
fantastic.
to do. But I did it
Brilliant.
probably did it in like yeah, about 2 hours one go and then another 2 hour shift and then probably the last hour and a bit whatever.
Wow. And it was, did that kind of like open up your eyes to, things that you never knew before?
Yeah, the JFK bit, like I looked into it, but not in that much detail. Like that was I was really shocked.
Hmm.
But I knew it was staged and planned, but I had no idea that it even swapped it out and all the bods, the 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 desperation these people will go to push that it just it. I don't want to say it's like I don't want to like compliment them at their genius, but it's like the
Yeah, yeah,
lengths these people will go
yeah.
to push any jet. It just I was like wow, and then yeah, the Titanic and the Olympia.
Mm.
Uh, and the people on board who are opposed to the Federal Reserve, and it's like I just it's just God, it sounds like we're describing movies, doesn't it? But
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, did you tell anybody else about it? Because I mean, obviously, when I was what was heartbreaking for me when I was making that was all the material I had to cut out. Because there was so much more that I wanted to fit in
so
there. But
much, yeah,
I was literally trying to cut that down to the bare bones, and it's still 5 hours 55 minutes long.
yeah. I mean, I think for the most people, it's like most people they just want to get on with life. I'm sure you're trying to tell your family or friends or anyone, and most they just don't want to know. They won't even watch a 20-second video with the attention span nowadays. So it's yeah, getting this information out to people, even if it's there. Some people just do not want to know, and some people want to. They're ready to wake up. So it's just a question of when for some people, really. But when you look at it, you can't deny it.
Mm.
So it's just a question of are you choosing to accept it? Or are you choosing to reject this? In which case, ignorance, to my knowledge, has never led to a free life. So good luck with that. But obviously, people have their free will. So.
That's very true. Yeah. I mean, was there anything else in there that? Well, I mean, was there anything in particular where, besides JFK, where you just thought, oh, wow, like for example, the name Blockstream.
Yeah, I had no idea about that bit, so that was really great. The detail went into about how, what SegWit is, how they orchestrated it, why was the big question for me. Because, like I said, until I'd come into this, I had no idea what the difference between BTC and BSV was. I'd seen it probably years ago in an exchange when it was allowed to exist there, but I had no idea what it was. It was only really when you went into the whole SegWit thing that things began to make sense. Of, okay, why was there so many branches of what appeared to be the same thing on surface, but definitely isn't?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, did you after you watched that movie, were you inspired to like maybe try and talk about it? Because when I was doing my research and all this kind of stuff, and I was kind of like waking up, I was fascinated by it. So I was like obviously trying to explain to my family. I was just like, do you know what they did to JFK? Do you know what they did to a 9/11? Did you know it's not the Titanic down there? Blah 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 blah. And because I was interested in it, and I would probably be interested in somebody else being being enthusiastic about finding this information out. Me personally, I'd be like, oh really? Tell me more. What have you found out? What makes you think this? What evidence have you seen? Blah 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 blah. And just all I got was a blank expression, like a brick wall. I was just like, this is just absolutely bizarre. But then I was just like, surely there must be other people like me who are actually interested,
Yeah, yeah. The way I describe it, it's like you're talking to someone on a walkie-talkie, on a different frequency. It's like they physically can't hear you, even though you stood in the same room, you're shouting at them. You could even show some of the evidence on paper, and they'd still just look at you like, like you're an alien.
Yeah, it's been really bizarre for me. Like, really bizarre. Because obviously, family is family, and you've got the same genetic, pretty much the same genetic makeup. So you'd think, you're like, all right, well, somebody that's got a very, very similar genetic makeup to me probably has the same line of thinking, but not at all. I mean, talk about feeling like the black sheep of the family. you know,
I know how you feel, mate. Don't worry.
Good grief. And that Silverfish documentary, I think it's got like, what, 27,000 views. And I know other people, and including, prominent British MPs who have watched it twice, they told me, because they were so impressed by it.
Wow.
But, the people that I actually made it for, which is my friends and family, not one has even bothered. And if let's say, for example, if I had a brother and a sister who made something like that, I'd be like, oh, well, I will watch it just because you made it. Let's see what you've got. Let's see what this thing is. But nothing. Literally nothing. I was just like, okay, right, well, at least I sort of like, I know what kind of individual you are now. Got it. But, they reveal themselves in the end. So I was just like, right, well, unfortunately, because I know what's happening and I know what's going on, I'm going to wish you good luck and see you later.
Yeah, 100%. It's sad, but that's all you can do, because it gets to the point where you feel drained. You feel like you're wasting your own energy. So you have to get to the point where it's like, I really want to help these people, but if they don't want to help themselves, then I'm going to have to put my energy elsewhere to people who will listen, because that's the only logical solution, really.
Well, yeah, because people who listen will then start thinking about solutions.
Yeah,
which is
that's
what we
probably
need.
why people don't want to know, because if they don't see a way out from it, that could probably really mess up some people mentally.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people still see the world through the this belief systems we've had for the past centuries of kings, queens, authoritarian, someone above you telling you how to live your life. People are still living from this soul psychoma sleep. So that's, as long as they see the world and live out of that same mindset, you can show someone a jigsaw puzzle as many times as you want, but if they don't know how to fit that piece in, then it's just it's like banging your head against a brick wall sometimes. I'm sure you know.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what the latest expression is. It's similar to, it's along the lines of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's along the lines of, you can show people evidence, but you can't make them think.
No.
Something like that. But I mean, I tell you what was kind of bizarre, in that previously, when I graduated university, I'd actually sort of like volunteered and participated in in medical trials where you get fully informed consent, and you get a full medical checkup, and you're on easy ECG machines, and they're doing blood tests and all this kind of stuff. And I've been doing that for a while, and my family were going, oh, we don't think you should be doing this, because these chemicals could be harming you. You're being a guinea pig. They're testing on you, and they're pharmaceutical products. And I was just like, but I get fully informed consent. I can see what they're doing. I can see the experiments they've done previously. I can see the results they had. I know how many micro doses I'm going to be taking, and blah 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 blah, all this kind of stuff. But then when this C19 thing came out, and I was just like, what? You want me to take this to save Granny? I thought Granny's already taken it, so therefore she should be safe, which means I don't need to take it, and then I'm sort of telling the rest of my family about it. I was like, right, I've had this C19, I went to bed for a day and I was fine, so you don't have to get injected with this. And they were just like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We've already done it. My brother was just like, I'm on my third booster. I was just like, literally. And every single one who told me that they didn't like me doing these medical trials ran straight down to the doctors and got themselves injected. And I was just like, do you not get that I clearly have proved to you that I don't have a problem with medical experimentation, and yet there ain't no way I'm going near this thing? You know, does that not kind of like compute in your mind? You know, but again, like you said, different wavelengths.
Yeah, it's just sad. It is sad because it's like you would have thought the people, you would have thought that your family and friends, and I've been in this position myself. You would have thought that your family and friends of all people would know that you, out of anyone, had their back over anyone. But it's like when, honestly, it hurts when these people trust the government over you. It's like wow.
Yeah.
There's evidence to say that the government aren't very nice, or any other group of people, and yet you trust these people over me. I'm your family, I want to see you do well and healthy and happy, but it hurts, I'll be honest.
Well, the thing is, I guess it's kind of like time to just kind of like make a new set of friends, isn't it, really?
I ditched I broke away. Yeah, I lost pretty much my whole friendship group. Some of them I'd known since, one of them was my best friend I'd known since I was 5 years old. And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people have been through that during these times. It shows the strong souls out there which are carrying on and will not accept a lie, will not sell themselves out to conform to a group which does not have their best interests at heart.
Yeah, I mean, I know people. I mean, this situation that we're in, I know, is split up marriages. I mean, can you imagine being married and one of you is pro this bullshit and another one can see right their way through it? I mean, can you imagine the division that it would cause and the friction in the home? Like, it must be. Or and I even know people who are in that situation now because they've got this fundamental disagreement. And again, I mean, principles on bodily autonomy and the Nuremberg Code and all this kind of stuff. How can you possibly, if you're aware of the Nuremberg Code and what went on during World War II and why the Nuremberg Code is so important, and yet you've got somebody in your family who's just like, nope, you should get this, over hell or high water. But you've got kids in the household. You're gonna have to find some kind of compromise. But it's a kind of hill that, pardon the sort of pun. It's a hill you have to die on. There's just no way. There's no way. There's no way you can be on both sides.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, some people, my old friendship group, when I was questioned about it, they said, oh, well, we could go to Ibiza. And I'm just thinking, like, you have to be alive to go to Ibiza. Do you not understand this? This is how important this is. They're not going to fly your corpse to Ibiza, are they?
Yeah.
And I just think, like, God, like, I'm quite young, but my generation, I have to admit, they are some of the most ignorant and stupid people.
Oh, my God.
It's baffling.
Well, what's kind of interesting is that obviously we got in contact through social media. I actually found with me, because I sort of had a set of friends, but when I sort of realised there were fundamental differences between them, I was just like, I didn't know where to go. And again, I had all my Facebook settings set on private, so I wasn't interested in getting to know anybody, especially not strangers. But for the first time in my life, I was just like, it was almost like dating again. I was just like, I'm gonna have to put myself out there, and see what's going on. And people say, oh, I hate Twitter and it's full of trolls and blah 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 blah. I have to confess and put my hand up and say, I absolutely love it. I love it. I have literally built myself a whole new friendship group of quality people. Even some of them that I haven't actually ever met before, I've had such good banter with them online. It's been great, and obviously here I am, talking to you.
Exactly,
it's awesome.
Everybody finds the tribe eventually and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad we connected, and but yeah, I must admit, like, X, out of probably all the social media platform, the mainstream ones, is probably the best, and it puts the most emphasis on actual networking, which I do really value, because I've met some great people on X as well, and I I can't say I've met amazing people on Instagram, especially nowadays, really. Or not as frequently, at least. So there's something about it that they obviously put intent on, like genuine connections, at least more than the other platforms do. So it's good that you found your tribe. I'm happy for you, man.
Well, yeah. Well, also, I mean, there are plenty of other sort of characters, on Twitter that also use pseudonyms. But what's quite good about a pseudonym character is that you would be attracted to them by the information that they're giving out. And some of the information, I mean, literally, it was basically Twitter that kind of saved everything. Like, literally, if you want to know something, there is literally every single opinion under the sun on a particular topic. So it's just like, right, let's get stuck in. There's pro and there's negative and there's people who are for and against. I mean, there is all sorts. So you just read through it and it's just like, right, I'm seeing a pattern here. I get this. And this was actually sort of like what happened to me with Bitcoin, because I literally didn't know anybody who knew anything about it, but there were all these, Bitcoin professionals, talking out there, and I was just like, look, I don't get it. And because there was so many people talking about it, I was just like, holy shit, I know nothing. And these people know everything. And then sort of after a while, because I was in a panic, thinking, all these people know so much more than me. Where are they getting the information from? How do they know this? How come it's not making any sense to me? That I was literally in a panic trying to get up to speed with all this knowledge. And then eventually when you get there and you go back and listen to all these other people, and it's just like, oh my God, no wonder I didn't understand what you were talking about, because you're talking shit. And you're talking shit. And you don't know what you're talking about. And you're full of crap. Oh my God. And then you just like, no wonder there is so much toing and froing and again, I mean, just the mindset of some people is truly shocking. It's similar to COVID. Those pro jab and those against jab. You've got the same division in Bitcoin. Oh yeah, you've got those. Oh yeah, you're not meant to use it. Well, what good is it to me if I can't use it? Why would I buy something that I can't use? This is so ridiculous. And yet some of these people are just absolutely steadfast. Nope, you're not meant to use it. Oh, okay.
It's like, what's the point of buying it,
Well,
it's like,
exactly.
if I went to a Skoda dealership and, the salesman's like, no, you're not meant to drive that car. Well, I want to buy it, It's like, have you read the Bitcoin white paper, mate? It literally says that's what it's for.
Yeah, yeah. And then you got some people going, oh, yeah, Satoshi was wrong. Satoshi was wrong, was he? Well, I think you find that he was the one that effing designed it. And who are you to say that Satoshi was wrong and didn't know what he was talking about? I was just like, the hubris is just literally on another level. All you can do is laugh at it. Oh, it's digital gold. It's a store of value. Oh, right. Well, it says here, literally on the second line, under the title of Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Are you denying that from the start? Yeah, it's not that anymore. Right, well, have you considered that if it's not that, then actually what you're using is not Bitcoin? And then literally, it just goes on from there. I mean, it's just... I mean, initially, I got frustrated about it. Now I just piss myself laughing.
But you have to. It's the only way to stay sane. You just have to see the trolls for what they are and just laugh. It's like that. That meme. And then we told them it's like the group of the people in the room, like politicians and stuff. And
yes,
and then we told them it's like I just picture that every single time. Or the two women shouting at the cat. That's my expression out to all these trolls. I'm just the cat sat there like, I don't care. This is just comical. So
yeah, I mean the memes on Twitter have been absolutely hilarious. I love them. But I mean, how scary is this? You can now get arrested for posting a meme. That's a meme in itself. Like, oh my God.
Bizarre. I mean, they can try. I mean, they might think that the average kid like me knows nothing about the law, so they'll probably have a nasty surprise. But especially because I charge for an order, so.
Yeah, absolutely, as you should do. This is my fee schedule. If you want to contract with me, it's £100 deposit right now. Then I'll give you 10 minutes. Other than that, do one. Is there a victim? Oh, right. Well, if there's no victim, there's no crime. And if there's no contract, there's no obligation. So off you trot. Especially if you're a public servant, you're now dismissed. See you later.
Yeah, and it's bizarre, most people, police officers, don't know the difference between arrest and unlawful detainment. If you don't know that, then, well, of course they can arrest you because, they can arrest citizens and everything, but, unless there's a claim by a man or woman against you and a crime's been committed, you can't, that's unlawful detainment. So, if you want to violate my rights, then sue in court, man.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, these days because you're dealing with mafia, it's literally it's gonna come down to a numbers game because if they get you in their clutches and you enter their system, the chances of you getting out are very slim these days. So you literally just have to avoid them like the plague. So what I would say is that anybody who just heard me say that, it's all very well being self-empowered with this knowledge, but just stay the fuck away from them is what I would say. Keep your nose clean, keep your head down.
Yeah, that is good advice, yeah. Because I know when I first, got looking into the law, you think you're very cocky and, you'll say things and try things and then you realise, it's best if I just, stay out of trouble as much as possible.
Yeah.
You've got to use knowledge with wisdom. If you lose one, then the other's pretty useless, so...
Yeah, and as an anecdote, I've literally got a mate of mine right now in prison because he got cocky. And literally he was just like, yeah, well, and to be fair to him, he had studied the law like crazy, and he knew it like the back of his hand, but he got cocky. Hubris got the better of him. And next thing he knew, he was thinking, oh, right, well, I want to get in their system and I'm going to rip it apart from the inside. And now, kind of like, speaking to him, he's just like, yeah, there is literally the way the system is rigged when you're in there. Literally, they run rings around you because they've been doing this for hundreds of years. They know every trick in the book, and basically you can't do anything and they will make you plead. Even though there is no crime to answer, they will make you plead. And if you don't plead, they will just simply detain you for even longer until you do plead. Guilty or not guilty. It's crazy. But for anybody who does find themselves in that situation, the word you need to know is, I do not understand. Because if you don't understand, there is nothing they can do to you. Apart from detain you for longer. Like, do you understand? No, I don't understand. Blah, 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 blah. And like, oh, cool, what was the other one? Yeah, again, it's, I do not understand. Well, no, I don't understand all this kind of stuff all the time because they're trying to contract with you, especially if there's no crime involved. They're trying to charge you and they're trying to get your, they're trying to consent through your legal fiction, which is created from the SirToshi trust and all this kind of stuff. But they've literally got this. They've literally got this wrapped up because I actually went to court, and my plan, my plan was to say to them, is this the magistrate's court? And if obviously it was the magistrate's court because that's where it was, and then you say, all right, so does this magistrate's court get its authority from the Magistrates Courts Act 1980? And of course it does, so they would have to say yeah. But the moment they say yeah, you're like, all right, well, because sovereignty was surrendered on the 1st of January 1973, all statutes, acts and legislation that have been passed post 1st of January 1973 is treason. So thank you very much. You've just admitted right now you are committing treason because there are no fines or forfeitures without conviction from a jury of peers, and administration courts have got no authority whatsoever. Just look at Housebury's law, when they said there is no authority for administrative courts in this country and no act can be passed to legitimise them. But they literally wouldn't even let me speak. And even when I said, upon my request, the court has a duty to answer my questions, which they do. But when I went to court, because they had invited me there, because I wouldn't accept that the name they wanted me to confess was mine was in all caps with Mr. next to it. And I was like, well, I'm not a Mr. I'm not maritime. I'm not at sea. We're on the land. Plus the fact, that surety name is also not me, because these are my given names here. I had 6 burly bodyguards literally turning their backs to me on the threshold of the court, not allowing me in. And I was just like, right, I want it noted that I turned up to this court and you refused to let me in. I mean, how nuts is that? You're actually turning up to court and they're refusing to let you in. It is, that was insane. And then when they did let me in, they didn't let anybody into the public gallery because they didn't want any witnesses there. They let me in and one Mackenzie friend, and they actually called the police to escort me into the building. And then so in the court, there was the court clerk, there were 3 magistrates, 2 coppers, and just me and one Mackenzie friend. So they outnumbered us. And when I said, upon my request, this court has a duty to answer my questions, the copper goes, no, they don't. And literally 2 of them picked me up, which is assault, and carried me out the court. Literally. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's going on.
I know, it's sad that, it's not the first time I've heard stuff like this. I mean, they just make up their own rules. And like you said, stay out of them. It's probably the wisest advice to people listening to this, because, when you're up against people, if I went to box against Mike Tyson, I'd be an absolute nutter.
Yeah.
If I'd never done it before, because, he's been doing it for years.
Yep.
And likewise, when you add on to that the fact that they've got a language where they can change the definition of a word to anything at any point, you're bound to get tripped up in whatever description they want to attribute to a word. So they effectively just set the rules whenever they want.
Yeah, and are you familiar? I presume you're familiar with Blacklaw's dictionary.
Oh yeah, I've gone down that rabbit hole. We're all naughty little monsters, aren't we?
That's right. yeah. And talking about Mike Tyson, are you familiar? Are you going to watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight?
Oh, probably not. No, because he's probably just going to shill another crappy crypto token EFT or whatever bullshit he's doing now.
Yeah, so. But that was his brother. That was his brother that was shilling it.
I don't even know the difference between. I'll be honest. They're both. I don't like any of them.
Right. Well, it's just. I mean, he's actually done quite well against Anderson Silva and Tyron Woodley, and I was just like, whoa! I was not expecting that. But going up against Mike Tyson, I was just like, wow! I've got to see this. And even Mike Tyson, for his age, still looks pretty amazing. And you can see him on the camera, enjoying himself. Like Mike Tyson was like, "Come on, Jakey, bring it on." I was just like, "Oh, this is gonna be class," So
yeah, I don't look into boxing too much, but it's sort of the analogy of, like when we learn a bit of law, we have a bit of success, and we get a bit cocky. I start to see that in a few people. I mean, like I said, I don't know the difference between them. I get them mixed up all the time. I know one of them, seems to be actually, taking boxing seriously in terms of his training. And I think that's the one who's going to be fighting Mike Tyson, is it? So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Probably won't watch it, but I'll await the result. And but yeah, I do think if you're going up against someone with that much, wisdom and life experience, you do have to be careful.
Yeah, man. Well, he's got balls. I would never go into that ring against Mike Tyson. I don't know anybody that would.
You couldn't pay me enough.
I know. I mean, you saw what Mike Tyson did to the likes of Frank Bruno, and these are really massive, strong, professional boxers that have done it for years and years and years. He literally goes and knocks their heads off, and I was just like, okay, fair play, mate. If you want to do this, that's on you. I think I'd rather get a COVID injection than be punched in the face by Mike Tyson.
It'd be a tough one for me.
Oh yeah, it would.
Take a hit with Big Mike.
Well, yeah, he might knock your head off. He'd probably snap your neck. Do you know what I mean? I was like, at least there's a 1 in 3, a 2 in 3 chance you might get placebo. You know, with the old C19 injection, like you're playing Russian roulette with both of them.
Yeah, at least I go
Jesus.
down with honor with the punch to the face.
That's true. That's true. At least you can say, well, you know, I got knocked out by the best heavyweight fighter that the world's ever seen. Claim to fame, innit, really?
Yeah, I know which way I'd rather go anyway. So
yeah, I'm probably with you on that one. Right, well, mate, this has been really good. We've been going for an hour. This has been great. So I'll probably call it here. And if ever you want to come on the show again, obviously, you know, just feel free, because this has been this has been great. We can either do a regular one or a monthly one, or just kind of like if you've got any news that you found out, or if you want me to come on your channel or whatever, you know, we'll have to do that.
absolutely, I'd like, yeah, if you're up for it, we'll do a regular one. You know, I'm sure there's so much that we haven't even uncovered that we still want to get off our chest. So yeah, I'd like to come back on, you know, very soon if that's all right.
Yeah, mate. Right, we'll stay on the line, but I will finish the show here for everybody else. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and obviously stay tuned, and we'll bring you more. Catch you later.